Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We'll discuss how NCBA is working to resolve livestock transportation issues that could impact your operation. And we'll look at the long-term forecast for 2018 and how the weather could impact the beef industry.
Now, from the Denver headquarters of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, it's NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Ochsner. Lawmakers in Washington, D.C. continue to debate a long list of important issues that will have significant impact on the beef cattle industry. That's why NCBA has a daily presence on Capitol Hill to help protect cattlemen and women from regulations that would harm their operations. Joining us now with a look at a couple of those key issues is Allison Cook, NCBA's Executive Director of Government Affairs. Allison, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
The implementation of electronic logging devices and the hours of service rules continue to be a priority for producers, particularly livestock haulers. What has NCBA's role been on working on this important issue, Allison?
So NCBA has taken a key role on this issue of electronic logging devices and specifically hours of service. We've been working this issue for almost 2 years now. We began with conversations over at DOT and specifically the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. We have petitioned them for up to a 5-year waiver from the ELDs, which gives us more time to focus on hours of service. They are outdated for our industry, and in an industry where we're moving live animals, it's important that it works for us.
So where do we stand now, and what might we expect in the coming months?
Absolutely. So again, we've petitioned DOT, but we also have appropriations language that we still hope to get across the finish line. At this point, it would probably give us about a 6-month delay on ELDs. We're also continuing the conversation with DOT about what it looks like to fix hours of service for our industry. We're also using our friends in Congress to focus on some legislation on hours of service.
You know, the Farm Bill is another important topic. What are some of NCBA's priorities with that legislation?
So we've been working the Farm Bill for a long time as well. We wanted to get in early with our priorities. We have 3 main priorities. The first of those being a fully funded foot and mouth disease vaccine bank, $150 million a year ask for 5 years, the life of the Farm Bill. We're going to continue to push for that bank. It's a needed item for our industry for the protection of our animals. We're also keeping a close eye on the conservation title. We want to make sure we protect EQIP and the funding that comes with that program that a lot of our producers use and appreciate. And we're also going to make sure that we take a close look at the research title and just make sure that our industry that thrives on added research, that we continue to see the dollars being funneled to research.
So Allison, do you expect to see any movement on the Farm Bill anytime soon?
You know, I am a wide-eyed optimist, and we continue to push specifically on the House side to hopefully see language within the next couple of weeks. The Senate side is moving a tad bit slower, but we're going to continue to just have those conversations and hope that we can see some language and get our hands on that soon.
So one last question. How can cattlemen and women help support your efforts in D.C.?
Absolutely. So calling your members of Congress is super helpful, letting them know how you feel. Also becoming a member of NCBA is very helpful. The work that I and our team do here benefits our producers that join up. And if they go to beefusa.org, they can learn all about NCBA and all the work we do here in the DC office.
Thanks, Allison, for your update.
Thanks for having me.
Now, if you'd like to stay up to date on key issues and events coming from DC, one way is by becoming a member of NCBA. Members receive the Beltway Beef Newsletter, a weekly report straight from Washington that gives an up-to-date summary of top policy initiatives that will impact your business. Joining is easy. Just call 1-866-233-3872, or you can visit the website ncba.org. Still ahead on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll examine how the weather in 2018 could impact the beef industry. Plus, see how John Deere equipment can help your operation improve its bottom line. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Don't miss the 2018 NCBA Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. It's your opportunity to meet with congressional leaders and federal agency influencers to let them know where cattlemen and women stand on critical issues that impact the cattle business and our way of life. Make plans to be in Washington, D.C. April 10th to the 12th for the 2018 NCBA Legislative Conference. Details at ncba.org.
Public land issues are somewhat unique.
The Public Lands Council is valuable to the ranchers because it's someone out there that's speaking their language.
Somebody has to communicate with the agencies, the BLM, the Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife.
Well, the Public Lands Council has provided incredible information and help, I think, to all members of the Congress.
Everything from water rights to endangered species to wildfire to the need to actively manage the lands through grazing.
And there's always a new battle coming up.
The people on the land know much better what's good for them, their land, and their community than anybody in Washington ever will or ever has.
So for them to have someone who is out there helping send their message and helping them keep their industry alive, that's super important for them.
There's no way you can really put a value on what they do for us. So having someone in Washington, D.C., a voice for the industry, a voice for public land ranching, such as PLC, Public Lands Council, is huge.
Welcome back. There's not much cattlemen and women would like more than to be able to predict the weather, especially in their own backyard. That's almost impossible to do, but Russell Nemitz has the next best thing. He caught up with Dr. Art Douglas of Creighton University to get some insight on the long-term weather outlook for the majority of the nation.
Well, a popular draw at each year's Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show is the Cattle Facts Market and Weather Outlook. And on today's segment, we're going to cover weather because we have Cattle Facts' Dr. Art Douglas with us. And as we do this program, Art, here in Phoenix, Arizona this year, boy, it is dry down here in the Southwest, and you said there's a pretty good reason for it.
That's right. We've had a La Nina develop very quickly. Last year at convention, we were talking about El Nino. Model forecast indicated it was going to continue all the way into the summer and to this winter. Bingo. Models were all wrong. We went from El Nino in May and June to all of a sudden La Nina September, October, and then drought started developing across the United States.
What was the rest of your message like at this year's market and weather outlook here in Phoenix as far as temperature-wise, I guess, not just here in this part of the world, but really across the rest of this great country of ours?
Basically, when we have La Nina along the equator, the upper atmosphere becomes very sluggish. The subtropical jet coming out of the Pacific is quite dry, doesn't have much wind with it. Consequently, we don't have good storms getting into the United States. Without the storms, we don't have moisture, and therefore we have drought. Also, when we have La Nina, we tend to have a ridge of high pressure on the west coast. And the ridge of high pressure on the west coast not only blocks the moisture, it also makes it very warm. So we've had record high temperatures throughout California and the Southwest this winter.
So am I reading between the lines correctly? You're expecting another dry 2018, at least for the western half of America?
I think based on the sea surface temperatures on the equator right now, it's going to take a while for them to warm up. And so when we look at them, we're going to keep La Nina going until March or April. That means the drought that we have here throughout California, the southwestern, southern plains, southeast, is going to continue for at least another 3 to 4 months.
So without that moisture, then you also made the point that could mean those wildfires could be poking their nasty heads up again.
That is right. I mean, we're looking probably at a very warm May and June throughout the northern Rockies as well as back to California. When you have warmth that early on after a dry winter, you have a lot of forest fires, and they're much earlier than normal. In terms of the Rockies, we really melt the snow a lot quicker, which, you know, your ranchers in that area really want a slow melt of the snow, and that's just not going to happen.
What about through America's heartland, working your way east to the eastern seaboard for this year, temperature-wise and moisture-wise?
Well, as we get away from the western United States with this ridge that we have creating all the drought and the warmth, That ridge then pulls down a lot of cold air, and we've seen these tremendous Arctic outbreaks that have gone all the way down to Florida with near record temperatures. That type of pattern is probably going to continue. We're going to keep the ridge in the west, and we're going to keep on having this trough with the cold air coming down. The problem is the flow is out of the northwest, so it's not particularly moist for the plains. So all the way from the Dakotas down towards Texas, it's going to stay dry.
And Dr. Douglas, you left and you kind of wrapped up your presentation here in Phoenix with beef for thought, and it tied in with global warming.
You got it. I found this on the internet the other day, and it was a guy, Richard Keene, doctor from University of Colorado at Boulder, and he's done some work on volcanic eruptions. And a lot of the work is based on photographs that have been taken of eclipses, because when we have an eclipse, if there's been a volcanic explosion, there's a lot of dust in the upper atmosphere. So during the eclipse, the amount of light that's coming down during the eclipse through the stratosphere that has volcanic dust becomes a lot redder. So the more red that we see with an eclipse, it's associated with a lot of volcanic dust. He's gone back and kind of looked with recent satellite data as well as these historical documentation, and has shown that really ever since Pinatubo blew its top in 1991, we virtually have had no volcanic eruptions to put dust in the upper stratosphere, and he is saying that probably half of the warming that we've seen since 1991 is due to a lack of volcanic activity, a lack of dust in the stratosphere, and we just simply get more sunlight coming in, warming the planet more.
You're right. That is definitely some beef or food for thought.
You got it.
Again, that was Dr. Art Douglas with Cattle Facts. We always appreciate his insight and, of course, him sticking his neck out on the line every year for us in predicting that nasty animal we call the weather. That's going to do it from here. We'll go ahead and send it back to you, Kevin.
Thanks, Russell. Now, if you're looking for top-notch beef industry research, information, and analysis, then check out the experts at Cattle Facts. Visit their website at cattlefacts.com for the tools you need to make profitable decisions. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, see how John Deere equipment is making a difference for one cattle and hay operation in Kentucky. Don't go away. We'll have more right after this.
What does it mean to be an American cattleman? It means you have what it takes where it counts, on the inside. At Ritchie, we understand that. It's what's on the inside that defines us. We share the same values: ingenuity, commitment, sense of pride. These are the values that built this country. They're the values that built this company. Ritchie, proud to be a partner to the American cattleman since 1921.
Don't miss your chance to read the National Cattlemen. It's the official publication of NCBA, and it's packed with timely news and information about the issues and events that affect your cattle business. Plus, the National Cattlemen includes producer education, cattle market insights, and more. A subscription is free when you become a member of NCBA. Join now by calling 866-233-3872 or on the web at ncba.org.
Welcome back. All farmers and ranchers look for machinery they can count on to use in their operations. However, sometimes the choice isn't based only on performance. It's also made because of tradition. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Matt Fleck introduces us to a Kentucky farmer who is able to use both criteria to make his equipment decision.
In the hills just west of Litchfield, Kentucky, Black Rock Farms is a cow, calf, and hay operation run by Roger White and his family.
My wife and I and my son and my grandchildren and daughter-in-law, we all farm together. My wife and I have been here for 40 years. And we have what you call a cow-calf operation. We have roughly 50, 60 head of brood cows that we raise baby calves from. Half of them calve in the spring and half of them calve in the fall. My son helps me here. If anybody's a farmer and they know they need help sometimes. And so a few years ago, we got him started into helping raise cattle, and he has some cattle that are his. We grow them together, but I felt like to try to get him involved was to, let him have some time with it and also enjoy the fruits of his labors.
The White family also bales hay for customers in the area, and like most farmers and ranchers, Roger faces challenges every day, but he also has long-term goals that help keep him going.
I guess there's a couple of challenges that we have here. One is the weather. In Kentucky, that old saying is, if you don't like the weather today, wait around till tomorrow and it changes. And it's pretty true, because we watch the weather forecast and get ready to cut hay, and they're giving us 3 or 4 days of pretty weather. And as soon as we cut the hay down, then they start saying, oh, it's going to rain tomorrow now. That's one of the big challenges we have here. Another challenge is weeds. I know it's happening everywhere. Seems like that weed control is becoming a big problem for all grass farmers. Our goals is to probably grow a little bit bigger over time. It's hard to find extra land because, there's other people trying to gather up the farms and enlarge their farms too. But we would like to enlarge our farm. I would like to see over time my son and my grandchildren take the farming operation and go on with it at a later date.
With weather and weeds being a challenge on Black Rock farms, one of Roger's main concerns is putting up quality hay for his cattle to eat.
Quality hay is very important. I just got back some samples or test samples from this spring's cutting, and I ended up with about 12% protein on my hay, so I'm going to be in pretty good shape on that. I started about 5 years ago deciding that I would try to raise better hay quality. When I can end up with 12% hay, I don't have to worry about feeding other commodities to bring the protein up on it.
For Roger, putting up quality bales is critical, not only for his own cattle, but also for his hay customers. And he says getting the job done is made easier by having tractors and hay equipment that are easy to use and dependable every time.
Naturally, the quality depends on when they cut it, but the main thing is they want it up. When they get it cut and it's cured, they want to get it up before the next rain. And so with dependable equipment like John Deere has, we're able to go out there and get the hay baled up before the next rain comes. When I go out there and hit the key, it always fires up. It's easy to get across ground fast. When I go out there to bale, you can just travel 8 or 10 miles an hour depending on the roughness of the ground. That's always a big issue too in this part of the country. It really works real well, and it helps us get it up before the rains. The consistency of the bales are always there. You have adjustments that you can tighten the density of the bale up on those, and that's why I like the 568 and 569. They're easy to form a good square bale. I had a fellow to tell me that he said it looks like you just took a saw and cut them off with a saw, as they come out of the baler. So
the 569 round baler is really our big seller. As Roger talked, we've got our weather it's getting tougher and tougher for us to put up. Our windows are getting narrower for putting up good quality hay. So we have really made a push to put up better quality hay, and John Deere equipment being as productive and high a capacity as it is really a good fit, because we can get it up in a good timely manner, ahead of the rains, in between the rains, that kind of thing. The 6 Series tractors is really it's a nice haying tractor. One of the challenges that we have around here is this isn't flatland, this is hill country. And it's a whole different challenge to farm on the hills. When you put a round baler with a heavy round bale in it behind you, that's a lot of weight pushing you up and down hills. And so the 6000 series tractors really they have a nice power to weight ratio. They're a nice heavy tractor that's stable, and they're comfortable, and they're the right size, really the right size for pulling a 5x6 round baler. The 6000 series tractors are really, really a big hit for us.
Having equipment that is dependable is a major key to having a successful operation, So too is a good service team that can get you back up and running quickly when they need to.
Well, at the end of the day, you don't have service, you don't have anything. You put the best product out there, but if you can't service it, what's the advantage? I've always believed in my life that if you take a piece of John Deere equipment and you optimize it to its fullest potential, that nobody could beat us. And I truly believe that. And so that's our job as a dealer, to work with John Deere and learn from John Deere and to help these guys get the most out of their machines.
It's probably the most important thing is because if you can't get the service, you could be down for several days instead of just a few hours. And so it's real important. When other people are depending on me and I have a breakdown, then I start depending on Wright's implement.
From one generation to the next, raising cattle and hay is a tradition on Black Rock Farms, and it turns out using equipment with the iconic green and yellow paint is also a family tradition.
That's why I stay with John Deere. They are dependable. My father started out in 1949 with a little M John Deere, and that was the year I was born. And we've been with John Deere ever since, so you might say my blood has got a little bit of green in it.
In Central Kentucky, I'm Matt Fleck, reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
If you'd like to learn more about how hay equipment from John Deere can bring value to your farm or ranch, visit the website johndeere.com. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll talk about how your NCBA membership pays dividends and why having a unified voice for the cattle industry is so critically important. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
No matter what job I've got to do, my John Deere 5E tractor can do it all. Whether I'm cutting, moving feed, or building a fence. Using my 5E means my work gets done faster at a price I can afford, and that works for me.
I find that the Public Lands Council does a great job in representing my members.
Having someone like the Public Lands Council in Washington, D.C. is huge for us.
Every time we have a change of administration, you've got a new educational process that needs to take place.
And the Public Lands Council does a really good job of that, of sharing kind of the reality of what the ranchers deal with every day to those who aren't that exposed to it.
I think PLC plays a great role in helping to inform and help political leaders to understand the nuances that take place on public lands.
We obviously can't get away all the time to go to Washington, D.C. and to argue these issues.
There are very, very few groups as small as the public land ranchers in the West that have a track record where they were that effective.
In terms of working with the Public Lands Council, I'll tell you as one senator, I want to work with them, I want to stand with them, and I want to fight for them because they represent the people of our communities.
At the recent Cattle Industry Convention, the Top Hand Club celebrated the recruitment of 483 new members. The Top Hand Club is NCBA's Member Recruit a Member program that recognizes individuals who give their time and effort to help increase the strength of the national organization. Lane Nordland caught up to 2017's top recruiter to find out more about his passion for the beef industry and for increasing the strength of NCBA.
The Best of Beef Awards banquet was held in Phoenix during the 2018 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA trade show, and the NCBA highlighted their top recruiters, that being a part of the Top Hand Club, the cattlemen and women that recruit new members to the NCBA and continue to do it. And our top recruiter for the 2017 year is California Cattlemen, Mr. Dave Daly. What's it like knowing that you are helping grow the association and spread the message of the cattle industry?
That's so critical. I mean, obviously, we're a strong association in California, but particularly nationally, we've got to have more members. We have to have more people willing to represent us both in Washington, in our case in Sacramento. As you can guess, it's a challenging political climate we deal with. The more people we have, the more voice we have, the more willing that people are, the willingness that they have to step up is really critical in terms of how we succeed.
Now, Dave, when you're sitting at a cafe or down at the local stockyards, what's your message to the cattlemen and women that maybe have thought about joining NCBA and they're on the fence? What's the message you share with them?
It's pretty simple to me. We're particularly a long ways from Washington, D.C., but I deal with a lot of problems in California. I don't particularly like spending my time in Sacramento. I don't like spending it in Washington, D.C. If I have membership, somebody's representing me, and it's my staff and it's our national leadership. They're there. So to me, we pay our insurance. I can't believe we can't pay our membership. It's a pretty straightforward proposition.
Now, being a part of that Top Hand Club, what would you tell the cattlemen and women watching this today? Sometimes it's tough to go out there and people to join the association, but what words of encouragement do you have for them to continue to grow the voice of the cattle industry?
It's absolutely that, is that we simply have to have more people representing us in Washington, D.C. and in Sacramento. You can't do that without members. Legislators, regulators, they look at how many voices are representing. So if you're willing to contribute, you're willing to step up, it makes a difference.
Well, there you have it, Dave Daly, the top recruiter for NCBA's Top Hand Club. For more on how you can recruit NCBA members, visit ncba.org.
And here to share some additional insights on NCBA membership and the Top Hand Club is Miranda Craig, NCBA's Manager of Member and Affiliate Services. Miranda, thanks for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You know, membership is so critical to NCBA. Why is it important to get grassroots producers involved in the recruiting effort?
So NCBA is a voice for anyone who's engaged with the beef industry. Whether you're a producer, a processor, or a mom in the grocery store seeking safe and nutritious protein for your family, NCBA is working for you. Because of that, it is so paramount that we echo the voice of those individuals. And without that grassroots level engagement, that's just simply not possible.
Top Hand Club members are rewarded for their efforts in recruiting new NCBA members. Tell us about some of the prizes they win.
Sure. So Top Hand members are eligible for a variety of prizes from our industry partners. But those who have great success in recruiting new members to NCBA are eligible for potential travel benefits and even complimentary registration to our annual convention and trade show.
So Miranda, what advice would you give to those people who are considering getting involved in this recruitment effort?
So I think the greatest impact the Top Hand Club program has is found in the role it plays in building community within NCBA. So the opportunity for a Top Hand Club member to interact with a fellow cattleman or a potential NCBA member only increases that strength of community and in turn translates to a stronger, more unified voice for us in DC.
And I know you talk to a lot of both members and non-members. What do you say to folks who may be on the fence about joining NCBA?
Well, I would say that NCBA is working for you while you're working on your fence. No, when you join NCBA as a member, you're joining an effort to sustain that heritage you're living day in and day out. You're joining a force that's working for your children and your children's children, whether they become producers like you or they simply participate in the beef industry by buying steaks from the grocery aisle. The value of what our team does in DC is really immeasurable in that it works to ensure that the business climate for beef is favorable and sustainable for producers and consumers alike.
I couldn't agree more. And one last question. Tell our viewers some of the benefits they receive when they become an NCBA member.
So apart from having a team advocating for you, which I've already touched on, our members are eligible for some lifestyle benefits too. So whether it's discounts on automobiles or ranching equipment and implements for your operation, or recreational gear through our Cabela's Outfitter program or Roper Stetson Tin Hall, as an NCBA member, you're not only enjoying the industry that you're a part of, but also the benefits of Cowboy Way and the discounts you can receive through that.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
There is strength in numbers. If you'd like to support the beef industry, why not become an NCBA member? By doing so, you'll be sustaining the work of NCBA in defending and advocating for the cattle industry in Washington, D.C. Joining is easy. Just call 1-866-233-3872, or you can visit the website ncba.org. Still ahead, we'll look at how fescue toxicosis can harm a rancher's bottom line and what you can do to protect your cattle. And we'll check in with the always entertaining Baxter Black. Stay with us.
Don't miss your chance to read the National Cattlemen. It's the official publication of NCBA, and it's packed with timely news and information about the issues and events that affect your cattle business. Plus, the National Cattlemen includes producer education, cattle market insights, and more. A subscription is free when you become a member of NCBA. Join now by calling 866-233-3872 or on the web at ncba.org.
Do you know all you need to about working cattle? Did you know there are proven methods that can reduce stress for the animals, for you and your crew? Now there's an easy way for you to learn from the experts who can help sharpen your stockmanship and stewardship skills. In interactive sessions, you'll learn better ways to work cattle more efficiently, skills that can help put more money in your pocket. Find out more and locate an upcoming event near you at the website stockmanshipandstewardship.org.
You're watching NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen, your source for cattle industry information and education on RFD TV.
Welcome back. The spring green-up is underway in many areas of the country. And for cattle producers in the fescue belt, the season can bring real challenges. In states where tall fescue grows, cow-calf producers can face a real hit to their herd's health and productivity during the hot season. Brian Baxter has more on a management tool in the battle against fescue toxicosis.
You can't help but be impressed with the green pastures and good-looking cows that call Circle A Angus in southwest Missouri home. This is an operation that was founded in the early 1990s and has been on the grow ever since.
The genetics that we've been working on for the last 2+ decades has been for efficiency and profitability. So that's been our focus, is really trying to get cattle and genetics to fit our environment that we hopefully will help impact profitability for other producers across the United States, wherever they may be.
Today, Circle A Angus is home to more than 7,500 purebred Angus cows spread across more than 25,000 acres. The Circle A team works to maximize their stocking rates to get the most from their grass. But a serious challenge every year is dealing with the issues caused by tall fescue.
Fescue toxicosis is probably the leading thing to losing revenue, and that would be coming through not fertility, but actually the ability to breed by a spiked temperature in that animal. And then of course, you know, if you have grass out there and the animals need to consume it, if their temperature is elevated by fescue toxicity, they're going to want to shade up or find water, which would lead to more herd health problems, you know, whether it be foot rot or just, you know, a temperature that would create more respiratory situations for that animal or its calves. So you have decreased fertility, decreased milk production, and then grazing time.
We also know that fescue has a cost to reproductive performance. Your calving rates can drop down 25 to 50%. And so the cost in overall calf production, the weaning weights, it's all associated with fescue toxicosis. Fescue toxicosis is caused by ergot alkaloids produced by a fungal endophyte that infects Kentucky 31 tall fescue. It costs the industry, the cattle industry, about $1 billion a year.
Now there's another management strategy that reduces the impact of fescue toxicosis. Research and trials conducted at Circle A Angus and other locations show that by applying chaparral herbicide early in the spring, tall fescue seed heads, where the toxin is most prevalent, can be suppressed.
The seed-headed suppression is important because that's where your toxicosis starts from. All that energy that would go into a stem or go into a seed head is now going into foliage that is more palatable, more higher quality protein, as I understand it.
What chaparral allows us to do is to go in and suppress the seed head on tall fescue. So making an application within a 2 to 3 week time frame before the seed heads actually emerge on fescue keeps the fescue seed heads from actually coming out. And so when we get into mid-May, late May, we have a pasture, if it is straight Kentucky 31 or these wild type fescues, we have a pasture that is in a very high quality vegetative state.
At Circle A Angus, they used chaparral to treat 1,200 acres in 2014 and then increased the treatment area to more than 10,000 acres in 2015. Time after time at Circle A and other locations, the results of using chaparral for fescue seed head suppression were clear.
We saw almost a 5 to 6% bump in conception rate. We saw anywhere from 20 to 30 pounds of gain on cattle on control pastures compared to chaparral treated pastures, and then just the overall length of grazing. It was able to stay viable for those cattle all the way through into August until we start getting fall rains again.
So suppressing seed heads with chaparral, it's not uncommon for us to see at least 90 to 95% suppression of the tall fescue seed heads. And how that plays out in the field in terms of production of cattle, we see it almost completely mitigating the issues with toxicosis in the summer. So our cattle are out grazing in the hotter parts of the day where normally they'd be standing in the shade. We're seeing better body condition on cattle because they're able to graze more. We're seeing better stocker performance on our stocker cattle, and we're also weaning heavier calves.
Beyond tackling the fescue toxicosis issue, the use of chaparral also delivers value when it comes to taking out weeds and making room for more grass.
What's really neat, I think most producers can go out in their field and find that they need weed control to some level or another. And to go into a fescue pasture that already has issues with toxicosis and being able to go in and control the weeds and also mitigate the effects of toxicosis on the cattle, it's a win-win situation.
I can tell you that chaparral has eliminated 95% of the weeds in our pasture. It has enhanced our cattle grazability because of the seed suppression. The cattle want to stay out and graze longer and come out earlier. And chaparral has also done, I think, a good job of suppressing that seed to where the nutrition in the blade of grass is greater.
As with many other tasks on the farm or ranch, when it comes to tall fescue seed head suppression with chaparral, application timing is everything.
Performing an application of chaparral within 2 to 3 weeks of seed head emergence is critical. During that time frame, we get the best seed head suppression and we get probably the best weed control. Now, as far as timing and preferred timing, it would be as close to seed head emergence as possible without actually having seed head emerge in the field.
Help in managing tall fescue, removing weeds, and growing more grass on the same acres are all results that will keep chaparral in the toolbox at Circle A Angus.
We'll go back and use chaparral again. And using chaparral has helped us, in so many ways, let alone the seed suppression is a great benefit. So we're getting dual action out of chaparral with the seed suppression plus killing all the weeds out there. So with that being said, why wouldn't you try to do that? Because you're killing two birds, so to speak, with one stone. And that goes back to us trying to be as efficient as we can. It has worked really well for us, and I think it'll work very well for anybody else trying to gain the same type of goals that you are and trying to increase fertility, reduce the heat in your type of cattle from the fescue toxicosis and weight gain. It's all about weaning off a better and bigger calf.
At Circle A Angus in southwest Missouri, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
With pastures greening up, now is the time to consider using chaparral for fescue seed head suppression. For more information, just visit the website rangeandpasture.com. Speaking of Dow, they've been a longtime supporter of the beef industry in a number of ways. Russell Nemitz has more from the recent Cattle Industry Convention in Phoenix.
Well, a big supporter for all you cattlemen and cattlewomen who grow grass out there, and a big supporter of the Environmental Stewardship Award program is our friends at Dow AgroSciences. And today we're lucky enough to have their Damon Palmer with us. And gosh, it's fun to catch up with you guys each year, Damon. And you guys truly are one of the big sponsors and big supporters of those men and women out there who participate in the Environmental Stewardship Award program.
Yeah, Russell, it's great to be here this year, and we're really excited because this is our 20th year supporting the Environmental Stewardship Award. So every year's special, but this year's definitely a little bit more special for us.
How fun is it to come to the National Convention, get to visit with thousands and thousands of cattlemen and cattlewomen about something that's so near and dear to Dow AgroSciences' heart, and that's conservation and stewardship?
It's great because my heart's with the customer, and ranchers are definitely our customer. And so being able to hear their stories, I just heard a story, for example, of how he's been able to increase the carrying capacity of his ground and do that with our products. And that's really what brings it home. We strive to serve these cattle producers every day. And so when you hear those success stories, it's just very rewarding.
Well, really is a match made in heaven, because your mission statement matches up so beautifully with a lot of these men and women who raise cattle out there in the country.
It really does, and you know, this is a classic example from a stewardship standpoint of a sustainable industry and a sustainable way of life, and that's why we support this program and support this award, because it does match up very well with what we're trying to do as a company.
Well, I also know you've been visiting with quite a few folks here in Phoenix about the fact that we're going to have a new name and a new company here shortly, but you're also reminding them it's going to be the same great program regardless.
Yeah, our commitment to the cattle producer is going to go on, and we're extremely excited about some of the new solutions we've got coming in the future. You'll hear more about that later, but we just focus on those simple solutions that help grow more grass through brush control, selective weed control, so that we can continue to steward the land the way that our producers want to.
Why is it so important for folks like yourself at Dow AgriSciences to have that relationship, one-on-one relationship, and attend events like this?
Well, this is really where we hear what their needs are, and so you can sit down in an informal setting with these producers, find out what their needs are, what trends they've got on their farm, what they're trying to accomplish, and then we get to go back, talk with our scientists who invest much of their time and a lot of the company resources to bring out new solutions. So it all starts right here talking to those producers.
So what you're saying is the future still looks really bright for future range and pasture management products.
Yeah, I'm really excited, really energized about what cattle producers are going to be able to see from this new company in the future.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us on NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Well, thank you. It's been a great partnership with Cattlemen to Cattlemen as well.
All right, we appreciate it. So, Kevin, whether it's at an event like this or just having a visit maybe on the back of a pickup tailgate, the folks at Dow AgriSciences are truly committed to the future success of the men and women involved with the U.S. beef cattle industry. With that, we'll go ahead and send it back to you.
Thank you, Russell. Still ahead, it's time for a visit with our good friend, Baxter Black. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is yours, and so is what grows there. Not theirs or theirs, yours. You need this to fight this and this to grow more this. Because the more of this you feed them, the less this you spend on that, which leaves more of this here. Don't let them take this from you. Chaparral takes care of weeds and brush, and that's that.
We know you're up before the dawn because the cattle rise before the sun. And you spend long hours in the saddle because the herd isn't always over the next rise. And you care for the land because you know it takes care of your family. And we know you do great work. And it's time to tell that story to the marketplace. IMI Global is here to help you do just that.
Pardon me, if you're looking for Baxter Black, you know, the funny cowboy, he's right here with a special offer. 6-hour-long DVDs filled with live shows, Emmy-winning comedy, all Baxter at his best. And the price is right, $25 plus shipping. 800-654-2550 or online at baxterblack.com. As Farmer Bill from Alabama said, he's the only famous person I know who is just one of us.
Howdy.
Whoa! Whoa! My head! Whoa!
Has this ever happened to you? Let me tell you about three brothers. Ran a summer pasture deal, and they'd sort them when they gathered in the fall. There was never more than 50 cows, and each one had a bull. Each brother, I should say. The herd was small. Well, me and Dick would help them gather. There was calves in with them too, but the sorting part would make a grown man cry. The three of them, all shouting from the alley at the top, while Dick and I swang gates for in and by and through and back and out and stay and hold and left and right. That's Norman Charlotte Cross that just got past. And hold that little brindle calf. She's way too small to ship. Dadgummit, Ted, don't bring him quite so fast. Bring that one back. No, let the Hereford by. Now, Jack, just leave your catch rope plumb alone. Whose cellular's ringing? Dadgummit, Jack, put that rope up. Norman, get off of the phone. Look out, the ball is on the fight. Just put her in with Ted. Not that way. No! Ah, dadgummit, she jumped the fence. Jack, you come back here. You'll never catch her now. Forget it. If you got a lick of sense. The black one in. The Bramer by. The big calf needs a brand. I believe that's Howard's Wayward Bull again. The brand inspector's on his way. George said he'd take a load, so don't be holding up these gentlemen. Well, it took us nearly half a day to finish up the sort and load old George a half a trailer full. And finally, find Norm's cellular, but not till Howard called to ask if we had seen his wandering bull. And take Jack by the hospital to sew his finger back, then drop by the sale to watch the market drown, and remember how romantic working cattle really is, and why we've all got day jobs here in town. This is Baxter Black from out there.
Thanks, Baxter. I feel your pain. Sorting cattle can sometimes be a real adventure. Want to rewatch an episode of Cattlemen to Cattlemen or catch up on anything you've missed? Then visit our YouTube page. You'll find replays of all of our shows filled with educational segments and producer profiles from around the country. It's also another chance to see Baxter Black. So check us out at youtube.com/Cattlemen to Cattlemen. We'll have more right after this. Stay with us.
There is a new world out there, revealing itself in unpredictable ways. A world that demands more from the land and those who grow, farm, and build on it. This new world calls for the ingenuity to get more out of it, while preserving as much as we can. After all, to stay ahead of tomorrow, we need to be equipped for it today.
Don't miss the 2018 NCBA Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. It's your opportunity to meet with congressional leaders and federal agency influencers to let them know where cattlemen and women stand on critical issues that impact the cattle business and our way of life. Make plans to be in Washington, D.C. April 10th to the 12th for the 2018 NCBA Legislative Conference. Details at ncba.org.
Well, I think a rancher has to be a steward of the land. There's nobody else that can take care of land better than a rancher. When we switched over to the Purina products, it was a step in the right direction.
The difference we see in the cattle is the consistency of their nutrition.
The cattle hold their condition a lot better throughout the whole year.
It does make a difference that we can see, day in and day out.
Welcome back. NCBA works hard every day to increase profit opportunities for cattle producers, but the organization's success depends on a strong membership base. We had a chance to ask some cattlemen and women around the country why they choose to be an NCBA member.
The value I get from NCBA is it's priceless. So, if you're not a member, you're letting the rest of us carry the weight for you, and NCBA does a lot for the cattlemen. So I think everyone should be a member of the NCBA.
Number one reason I'm an NCBA member is because I work at home. I have two different operations that I spend time between. One was a business I started myself. The other is our 130-year-old family operation. And I don't have time to be in DC knocking down doors. And I don't have time to be lobbying for our industry on a day-to-day basis to politicians that maybe might not appreciate what we do. And so my dues dollars go to pay for those staff members that are able to go in, knock on those doors, build those relationships all along the supply chain and even in DC, and to tell my story.
I am an NCBA member because to me they help take care of and help teach us the the new government regulations coming on down, and then also help keep us abreast to the new information coming out there, as well as help us with BQA, training our employees and things like that.
I'm an NCBA member because without the dues, we're not going to get represented where we need to be, and this is how we get things done, is by joining together as a whole and working towards a greater good, you know.
I'm an NCBA member because I've felt strongly all my life that it's not just state, it's national, it's everybody has to be involved.
Because the value I get from being a member on the Hill, Colin Woodall and all the boys back there in Washington, D.C. fighting our battles daily that we can't be. And that's our reps on Capitol Hill there. And like I said, the good people I've met over the years is worth the dues. And it's worth paying your money and being a member of NCBA.
We're wrapping up this show with one of my favorite segments, Legacy Photos, as we share some great shots submitted by our viewers. Let's take a look. Want to see your photo on Cattlemen to Cattlemen? You can submit your favorite shots a couple of ways. Either message them to us on the Cattlemen to Cattlemen Facebook page or email them to c2c@beef.org. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.